I completely mistimed that. I was gonna do like this, like when the recording started, and then been like that, like for like a peekaboo sort of thing, but it's too late for that. Anyway, happy Trans Day of Visibility, gamers. Happy Easter. And I wanted to reach out about sequels, kinda. So I'm still working. If you've been keeping up with my complaints about it in the other videos I've submitted, and you can probably tell from the bags under my eyes, I haven't been doing too hot because of my work schedule, but hopefully things get more lats in the coming weeks. But I thought, why not take advantage of it? Because if something happens, I just have to drop everything for like the next 2 hours-ish. But until then, I can kind of chill out and record a bit more for you guys, since I can't leave my house while I am working. So here's some interesting stuff I want to talk about. I was playing Helldivers 2, and I was having a grand old time. You'll probably see a couple snippets of it here real quick. Grand old time. Not a big fan of the machines. For how much I talk about machines in my videos, and how I've even scrapped multiple videos talking about machines, they are absolutely insufferable in that game. But beyond that, moving past my experiences with the machines, I wanted to say to you guys, I don't think Helldivers 2 is the greatest like transition from game 1 to game 2. No, I don't think it's Super Mario to Super Mario 64 or Risk of Rain 1 to Risk of Rain 2, though I'm horrible at Risk of Rain 1, and I was a Risk of Rain 2 diehard for a really long time. No, I think the greatest like game transition from one game to another might be Dark Souls 1 to Dark Souls 2. Cue the booing. But it's weird because I have the most hours out of the Souls games on Steam in Dark Souls 2, which is weird because it's an objectively worse game than all the others, but yet I felt compelled to play it much more than all the other games. I really enjoyed Dark Souls 2, and I couldn't exactly tell you why. So Dark Souls 2 is essentially a downgrade to Dark Souls 1 in a lot of different ways. Dark Souls 1 is just objectively better in terms of world design, in terms of enemy design, levels, story, I'd argue even gameplay, which is kind of saying a lot when your sequel feels mildly worse or maybe about the same, but there's something just not right overall. There's a problem with it. But moving on from that, there's a lot you can kind of take away from Dark Souls 2. For one, I think Drang Lake is one of the most beautiful places ever. I think about Majula a lot, and I think it's just a beautiful setting in general that really kind of encapsulates the beauty of the entire world in a sense, and how it's open to you. The world being Drang Lake, not real life. And I kind of wanted to touch upon a review, or kind of a reminiscence of some of my time with Dark Souls 2, which is a little silly and has nothing to do with Helldivers. So this was originally going to be, I would go through and just my already completed save and just go through all the different spots and kind of look at it, talk you through a bit, show you some of my favorite spots of the game, and go from there. My save is no longer there. I have a brief clip of my reaction of it where I tried to see if I had it on backup anywhere, and I didn't. So that kind of sucks, but I would love to play through it again. So I guess that's an excuse for me to do that at some point. I'd do it today if I wasn't under the thumb of a evil corporate overlord, but what can you do? And one thing I really, really love about Dark Souls 2 as well is the opening.
You will lose everything. A great king built a great kingdom. I believe they called it Drang Lake.
Absolutely epic. I don't even have words for it. And just meeting the retired firekeepers, like those old crones talking about your destiny and such, and your little effigy doll, that's nice. And just the first entry to Majula is mind-blowing to me, and that reveal has always stuck with me. But other than that, there's not like a ton I can do other than kind of go through, and I was kind of gonna just shoot through all of my memories with every boss encounter. because I've tried them all. I don't think I beat all of them. I failed to beat the 2 wolves. I had another recording where I started the video, but I got so sidetracked talking about the 2 wolves prior to anything else, so I'll just talk about them when I see their entry. But yeah, I'm just gonna go through and talk about the Dark Souls 2 bosses and some of my memories with them and of the world of Dragon Lake itself as it comes up. And it's weird because this sequel to Dark Souls, the sequel to Dark Souls, to me stands above Helldivers 2, Risk of Rain 2, and so many other games for it being a sequel, even though I couldn't even stand it when I was first playing the game. I was like, man, this is miserable. Why would anyone play this? And I kept playing it nonstop because I was too stubborn to admit I was having a blast. So we're kind of just gonna go through here, and I'm gonna just break them down each point by point, and we'll go from there. But I kind of want to touch on something too. So I know I have my Twitch in every single like video description, even though I haven't streamed anything because my job normally keeps me until very late and I have to wake up early the next day. But you know, we'll get there. We will get in a spot where I can. But one thing that's kind of funny is I actually used to stream Dark Souls 2 every night from like midnight to 4 a.m. I don't think anybody ever saw it, and it's not like I was saying much during it. It was just sort of me breathing into the microphone as I'm just doing the gameplay, or occasionally saying, man, that's bullshit. And I never even checked chat, so I couldn't even tell you. But it's so weird to me that this game that I really, really like adore now, back then I streamed it for no reason to nobody with like 0 internet presence overall, because I didn't even have social media back then when I was streaming it. It was just, that was it. Me on Twitch streaming Dark Souls 2. But yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, welcome to the Dark Souls 2 wiki. Pretty cool, right? And what I think is kind of funny is how right at the top it mentions the soul memory of 1,000,000 souls to go directly to the Shrine of Winter. And all I can think of is every single Yimfa video where he just rushes that. It makes me laugh thinking about that. And there's just, the game is broken, but not really. So I guess we'll just kind of go through and talk about each of them and kind of my memories of them. Forest of Fallen Giants is the opening area from what I recall. And this guy, he has every reason to be upset given what happened to the giants. He's a very easy fight. There's not really much to it. You just kind of beat the guy to death. And I don't know, formidable early game boss seems like an exaggeration. I think the arena kind of sucks. I remember that, but I definitely won't say it's that bad. And honestly, it's a pretty easy fight. Is it a good first boss? I think he looks really cool. I mean, my favorite Lord of Cinder from Dark Souls 3 is Yorm, even though his fight just is objectively not fun. But yeah, no problems there. Next up, we got the Pursuer, the classic, the guy who's in the game a bunch as a mini-boss. Yeah, multiple locations as a mini-boss if playing Scholar of the First Sin, which is the only version I've played. And I remember fighting this guy for the first time when I played the game at a friend's house and just getting my shit kicked in. I thought to myself, dude, this is impossible. This is ridiculous. And I always think of that Happy Souls animation where he just stabs the guy and he's like, is this too easy? Now, what's fun about him as well is that, and not just him, Dark Souls 2 as a whole, is how they had a bunch of like arena stuff. Like, it is cool you can just use the ballista on him. I never knew you could kill friendly phantoms of the host with it, but I don't even think I've ever even used the ballista for anything like that. And the Dragon Lake Castle, I hated that. I hated that, man. It was so hard. I had so much difficulty with that for no reason. Well, I think I know the reason. It's because there's 2 of them, if I recall correctly. Yeah, 2 of them. Absolutely cool design. Now, if I don't know if I'd say he's from Armored or what, but I like having characters that are like stalkers in horror games, in games that aren't horror games, like a rival almost. I don't know if I'd say the Pursuer's a rival. He's just a fucking monster, but it's really cool that he's in the game anyway and kind of pursues you per se. But that's just my opinion. Okay. This fight is kind of like a gimmick fight. You just stay in the walls, you kill the guys that spawn, put down the gate, and then you get to fight the horse, which I thought was actually really cool, but I think it's a lot of fun gimmick fight. Is it that fun of a gimmick fight? No. I would not say it's that fun of a gimmick fight, but I'd say for what it is, I'd say it's pretty cool. I don't feel very strong towards the creature as a whole. I mean, I wouldn't say he's like a defining part of Dark Souls 2, but just the whooshing of him rushing through this like track as you're just trying to rush to throw down the gate and then having to show down with the horse itself. That's awesome. I mean, really, I struggled with this a bit, but I had a lot of fun with it, so it didn't really feel like it. So this is another great boss. This game actually has a lot more good bosses than I remember seeing all this stuff. Okay, next up we have the Looking Glass Knight. This is like, unironically, before I played the game, this was my favorite design out of the game. When I was a kid, I'd look up videos with this guy in it because I thought he was just so cool. And I loved his mechanic of bringing forth an invader to help him for the fight. And I still think it's cool, though I don't think it's been done well in any of the games. Like, they did it in Ring City with like Judicator Argo summoning a guy, but I don't know. I think the Looking Glass Knight is the best implementation. I just wish it was a lot smoother with how the Looking Glass Knight summoned the invader, but they worked for what they could at the time. And anyway, yeah, it's not a hard fight. I do not remember having trouble with this fight, but honestly, this fight rocks. It's fun, it's cool, and he looks sick as heck. He's got cool mechanics. I don't know what they mean by out the boss area, but I don't know. I love this fight. It's really cool, and it's so cool to me that they implemented it back then. So I don't know. I'd love for him to come back in any From Software game, but I don't know. I think that's just me on copium. This fight sucks. I remember I'm not a big fan of horde bosses unless they're the Deacons of the Deep, in which case I like to make fun of them, but I remember thinking this fight was not very fun, and I stand by it. I don't remember it being very hard. I think I died a few times through it, but to me it's the same as like, oh, what is that stupid fight? Spellcaster and Congregation, Magus and Congregation. To me it's just that fight, but again, I don't know. It doesn't really charm me. There's nothing about it that really makes me feel, oh dude, these skeleton lords are cool. I mean, they look cool. Bones go hard. That's an important thing to remember. Bones go hard, and these guys go hard, but also not really. It's just not that fun, and it's not that creative, and I forgot they were in the game until I started doing this video. The Flettsile Sentry, I was really scared of this boss when I was a kid. Like, his design just freaked me the fuck out, but I think the fight is very easy. When I played through the game, I took him out on my first try. I think it's cool. There's like a water mechanic in the room, and how he rotates, but I don't know. It's a fight with cool ideas for mechanics, but by the same point, I don't know. I'm not really like that impressed by the implementation, but still cool mechanics, cool ideas. I just wish they like actually meant something. He's pretty cool. Lost Sinner, this is awesome, and a million times better than the Bed of Chaos. I believe this is also the one where you can light the room, if I remember correctly. Yeah, definitely. Bring a torch and use the key to open the cells before mist and light the oil tracks on each side. This will lighten up the room and allow you to lock on. I discovered that on my own doing the fight, and I remember thinking that was really cool. I like the options for fights like this where you get the opportunity to do something prior to the boss fight to make it easier for yourself. And I always thought the intro was super cool, but I don't know. Solid fight. Really cool. And oh, right here, the fact you see the chaos bug crawling into the empty eye socket, I don't know. Really cool callback to Dark Souls 1. Awesome fight. No complaints. Kicked my ass a bit, I think, but I am still alive and speaking with you now. And I turned out okay. Maybe. The fact I'm making these videos may be proof I didn't, but that's beside the point. I think these guys are cool. They're a horde boss, but I don't normally like them for bosses in general, but I really like bosses that are a test of the player's skill, and I kind of view these guys as the Ruined Sentinels if they were tolerable, which is weird, because I think the majority opinion is that Ruined Sentinels are easy, or easier, but yeah, no complaints here. I have, isn't how do I achieve man mode, you said it. But anyway, the Belfry Gargoyles, they've got a cool design. The fight's pretty okay. Honestly, I think they're a good addition to Dark Souls 2. They fit the aesthetic of the game well, and I like them. I think most people do. I couldn't tell you about the people who didn't. I hated this fight. I unironically hated this fight when I first played the game. I got my ass kicked in here like a million times, and I don't even know why. I have no idea why, because I don't even think it's that hard of a fight. And I wasn't even using like a crazy bad build or anything. Now, granted, I have never known them to be weak to both blunt and lightning damage, but I'd never tried it. So that could also be a problem with me just being me and not doing it. But one thing I like about the Ruined Sentinels is their design. They look very Clockwork-esque, and I always have dug that kind of art style. So yeah, I fuck with how they look, don't fuck with the fight, and honestly, it's an for me, dog. But they're okay. But I did not like that fight. Like at all. This fight sucks. I remember hating this fight too. Because this is literally just a horde boss, except you have to go hunt a boss rat. I don't know. This fight, you don't need to watch a YouTube video to realize a boss named Royal Rat Vanguard with rats that look like that is not a good fight. You don't need me to say that. You don't need me to tell you any room where there's a bunch of spawns that give you status effects isn't fun. But what I think is cool about the fight, I have no clue. I got nothing. Now, I never knew alluring skulls could be used against the enemy rats to pull them away from the boss. That's cool. Other than that, yeah, no, fight sucks. I don't want to even talk about it. Royal Rat Authority is a slightly... I believe he's the one that's like Sith, but like not cool. Yeah, this is it. I don't know. This fight also sucks for different reasons. If you want to do a fight like this, but good, do the Grave Tender boss fight from Ashes of Arendelle. This guy is just he's a giant rat who, well, he's not like a giant rat like Dark Souls 3 style or whatever. He's just a bad rehash of a fight that was already made. Yeah, this moveset for this boss appears similar to Great Grey Wolf Sif in the first game, meaning that largely you will get jumped on. I mean, there's not much I can say about this fight either, other than I do not like it. So, there you go. Yeah. Oh, man. I sure do love, bad bitches. You know what we're saying? I think I may have a problem. Anyway, Shaded Woods, Shaded Ruins, I do not like as areas. I think just because I'm bad at them, but I like Scorpionus, I don't even know, it's Najka? Because you can summon Man Scorpion Tark. I remember being able to summon him, and I thought that was really cool. Having a non-humanoid summon help you for a boss, that's awesome. I really like that, or creative stuff like that. Like how in Bloodborne you can summon Father Gascoigne for the Clerk Beast before fighting him. That's cool. I like fun mechanics like that. And I think Scorpioness Najka, I don't remember much about actually fighting her at all. I literally remember the Man Scorpion helping you in the fight, and that's literally it. That is literally it. So this is a pretty forgettable boss. She's no Quelog, but what can we do, you know? We take what we get here. I remember very little about fighting the Duke's Dear Freya, but I hated the area. I remember that for a fact. I remember getting lost and confused and just being a big dummy in that whole place. But there's a few cool mechanics. I vaguely remember that I think I knocked off a head in my fight. Maybe I didn't, but I don't remember. But the Duke's Dear Freya, it's a big spider, nothing you haven't seen before from playing video games. And I don't know. I don't think it's anything special. I think maybe the lore is neat, but the Duke's Dear Freya doesn't really do too much to keep me thinking about the world. Like as I was talking about how much I love Majula and the world of Dark Souls 2, the Duke's Dear Freya didn't cross my mind once. Though this is cool, I never knew there was an early surprise boss fight on New Game Plus. I loved how Dark Souls 2's New Game Plus changed so much. Like, I wish New Game Pluses did that now, where stuff would, like, constantly change. I miss that. Like, if you did a New Game Plus, you weren't just doing the same game again, but with higher equipment, but everything you're doing changes, and that's awesome. I really like that. So you never know. But honestly, if this was the early surprise boss fight in the main game, I think I would have remembered the Duke's Dear Freya way more. Like infinitely way more. I don't know why they didn't go with that in the main game, but who knows? Okay, Mytha, I don't remember much other than you can get rid of the poison in the arena. Yep, yeah, using the torch to burn away the windmills, blades. You only have poison around the edge of the arena. I remember thinking that was cool cool. And then other than that, I completely stomped this boss. Mytha has a cool design. Gorgons are cool. Gorgons are attractive. Everybody loves Gorgons. Everybody hates poison, even though it's in every game, but it's nice you can get rid of it for the boss fight. Standard fight, cool, but ultimately inconsequential. I actually had a bit of trouble with this fight when I first was like trying to beat it. And I don't know why I did, because there's nothing about it that really stands out as difficult. I mean, he's gross. He's like Nito if Nito wasn't cool. Or technically he is Nito, technically, or something like that. But I don't know. Overall, there's just like, there's not a lot to talk about with the Rotten. He's just a big giant monster you fight. He's cool on paper, but in the end, he's just not like an encounter that really sticks with you the same way Nito does. Which is kind of a shame. It just is a shame. Oh, we got a lot of bosses still, man. We got a ton of bosses. The old Dragon Slayer is just, it's Ornstein and Smo, but just Ornstein. But he's a little cooler because he has some stuff to change up the original fight. And I like that. I like the fact that the original fight is changed up, but still has some of the original elements. I don't remember struggling much with Ornstein, but I'm happy they brought him back. I'd rather they bring at least Ornstein or Smo back rather than neither for the sequel. So yeah, I like Ornstein and Smo. I like Ornstein and just Ornstein. I like Old Ornstein. Old Ornstein is a good fight that personally to me is recognizable, has a bit of new stuff to like keep you being like, oh wait, what? But ultimately it's not that hard by the time you reach him. Still cool though. Still like the fight. Joke fight. Literally joke fight. There's not much going on with the covetous demon. I didn't lose to him. I just walked up and hit him over and over. I think there's like ways to change how the fight... There's a few weird things. I forgot he could even eat anything. I was trying to find something... Reddit boss fight. Okay, you know what? We'll leave it there. Reddit boss fight. I think the Smelter Demon looks really cool. I like his design a lot, and he's fine as a boss fight. I think the only reason I get really annoyed with him is the fact that the Foundry Demon exists, and it's literally the same fight. The only difference is the walk to him is just literal hell, like even more so than the Flames of Iron Keep. It's actually just the worst, the second one, just because of the path to him. But the Smelter Demon himself, I had a bit of trouble with him. I remember struggling for a while, but it didn't take me like that long. It wasn't like an event. It just was sort of a get good sort of thing. Oh my gosh, I have the hiccups. Oh, we love bugs. Actually, wait, I think this one happened to me. I remember summoning Teal, not having them enter the fight. That is super weird. What? Why are these bugs real? Okay, well, I never knew that. But the Smelter Demon, he's fine. He's like, I'm happy he's in the game, but it's nothing I'm flipping out over. I remember not liking Old Iron King. It's not that bad. It's weird, because the Old Iron King... He's just sort of a guy in a pool you beat to death. I mean, it's nothing really that hard. It's just sort of a, you mess up, you start the fight over, but the fight itself looks sick. He looks incredibly cool. But overall, it doesn't really have that much depth or appeal for me. But I don't think he's like that bad. It's just sort of, it's another fight, but it's a lot cooler. A lot of these, like, explanations I'm having, like, it's just another fight. That's how they feel looking back on it, but they all kind of make up a bigger part of the journey. And to me, after these bosses, I would think a lot about how they fit into the world of Drang Lake as I continued on with the game. And the Old Iron King is no exception, but from a gameplay standpoint, he doesn't offer much. Guardian Dragon is really cool. I remember doing this fight and struggling for a little bit, but I think dragons are just cool creatures to fight in general. But I don't know. Looks cool. I was just a coward and stayed underneath him the whole times. And yeah, I don't really have any strong thoughts on this. It's cool fighting a dragon, and it's not like, it's a fun dragon fight, but I consider any dragon fight in these games fun except Midir. Midir unironically makes me hate the concept of dragons. But solid fight. I enjoy it. I look back on it fondly. A lot of fun. Difficult learning curve, but I enjoyed the Guardian Dragon. Hey, we talked about this guy. Maybe. I don't remember whether we did or not, but I know I've talked about him semi-recently. Cool design for a boss. I really like how he has arms that come out of his face, and I really enjoy the Demon of Song overall as just a monster. This guy's super memorable. He has a cool arena. I don't know. This is like definitive Dark Souls 2. There's a reason that the Demon of Song is so synonymous with Dark Souls 2 in his presentation. The Demon of Song is awesome. He's a good boss. He's not even that hard. I remember just whacking his face over and over. And anything I'm forgetting? No, nothing that I'm really like forgetting at all. It's just a cool boss. He looks cool. He's got a good moveset. The surprise is nice. He's like that gaping dragon or whatever the guy is called from Dark Souls 1. I enjoy him. Velstat's a cool boss fight. I like him. I like the Undead Crypt in general. Wait, no I don't. I hate the Undead Crypt. I don't know where I was thinking of. I don't like the Undead Crypt, but I like Velstat. I think he's a cool fight. Crazy metal guy, shows up out of nowhere. Super knight. I also think this is a solid fight to add to the Dark Souls 2 repertoire. It's very fitting in game. He's fun, and I got nothing. And the fact he can be parried means it's over if you know how to parry. I can't really, I can't parry, especially can't parry in Dark Souls 2. Oh, dude, I never even thought about this part. How he could be, he's modeled after Garlvinland from Demon Souls. That's awesome. But I like Velstat. He's cool. He's doing his duty, even though the guy who he's defending is, well, Vendrick as a human looks dope as fuck, but Vendrick as a hollow looks depressing as fuck. He's just a sad zombie, and the only way to kill him is to go and collect all the giant souls to then annihilate him. Yeah, divides your damage by 32. You have 0 giant souls. Like, that's messed up. I feel like if you get them and then use them, you should still get the defense reduction, but what do I know? I didn't make the game. He's a cool character. The fight with him sucks, but his actual lore and seeing the king in this state, that big reveal that he's just fucking nobody. He doesn't even drop a soul when you beat him. I mean, Vendrick is cool. He's an interesting character in an interesting world in the fantasy setting. So I think it's very important that he's here, and I don't have any complaints, though his fight is very It'd be cool if you got him to like half health and he all of a sudden returned to flesh and then got this crazy fucking moveset, but they worked with what they had, but it's fine. It's very inconsequential. I never beat this guy. I tried fighting him a few times. I couldn't ever beat him. Dark Lurker has a very sick design, looking like something out of a good Diablo game, and I thought he was incredibly hard. Do I remember using lightning? No. Did I remember using fire? No. Me and my dumb brain just walking up and slapping him with a sword. I never did use any of this stuff either. But I think he's very cool. I need to quit saying cool. But the Dark Lurker is awesome. I like how he implies that there's more beings in the world that we don't understand, considering how unique he is in the world of Dark Souls, along with the fact he's in the middle of the dark chasm of old. Like, he's deep. You really have to find this guy. There's a reason he's a hidden boss in a covenant. Like, he's not easy to find. And I love that the reward for this is a completely unique boss of a being that just doesn't fit into the rest of the game's presentation of the lords and the demons and the monsters within it. It's something totally unique with angelic appearance. That to me really is a reward to the player in and of itself, along with the fact he's a hard fight. I never beat him. I'll have to revisit it at some point, but I like the Dark Lurker. So nothing to really say beyond I'm happy he's in the game, and he and I will have to have a round 2 at some point. Bad fight. Bad fight. This is just the guy who falls down. I mean, it's not that bad, I guess, but it's silly. It's silly, and I don't know. For a first boss, I'm not impressed, but also it's such a euphoric feeling knocking that guy into the pit that it really kind of makes it all worth it. But I gotta say, I'm not impressed by the Dragon Rider whatsoever. In the first version, where it's just the guy in the room and he falls. I don't know. It's funny. I kind of wish the Dragon Riders had more association with dragons, hence their name, but the fact they're their own knights are cool, I guess, but you couldn't even Like, if you just showed a guy, anybody, this guy, and asked if you thought he was associated with dragons or whatever, I don't think most people would make that association, but the Dragon Rider is fine. They serve the purpose they need to for an early game boss. The Twin Dragon Riders, basically the same. It's just two of them. I think it's a cool duo boss if you have another guy with you. That way it's like two guys versus two Dragon Riders. I think it's cool that they work as a unit together, but by the same point, one of them is using the same moveset as the guy from the tower. So it's not really that impressive. I mean, I wish I could like them more. Like, do these guys, he summoned his boy for help. I mean, nobody has any like major feelings on it sort of thing. I mean, the archer doesn't even have that much health. It's another fight. I don't think it's a particularly memorable encounter, but I do think in order for us to have really memorable encounters, you have to have some that aren't. This fight sucks. It doesn't suck because it's like hard. It sucks because it's easy, and there's no reason for me to even talk about it. I mean, the hardest thing here is remembering to go back and summon Benhart. Like, there's nothing to do. It's a guy and a bunch of mobs, and you can— whoa! Look at this gallery, though. That looks incredibly dope. But other than that, nothing really to look back on and think, wow, what an experience. You'll look back on it and think, that fight kind of reminded me of Pinwheel. I wonder who wins. Giant Lord. I believe he's the king of the giants. Yeah, because you fight him back in time. This guy's cool. This guy's really cool. I love the fact he wields a sword. The fact he is actually— wait, I am thinking of the right one, right? Yeah, you're doing this with the war with the giants. This fight is awesome. This fight is awesome. It's cinematic. I think I did it first try. I could be wrong. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I'm just trying to make myself sound cool. The Giant Lord is awesome. You're basically fighting him in World War II, Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. And I love the Giant Lord's design, his weapon, his moveset. I have very strong memories of the Giant Lord, and I love this fight. The giants in Dark Souls 2 were criminally underused, so I'm happy to give him some well-needed recognition. I think this was the guy who talks. Yeah, I don't even remember why I killed this guy. I genuinely have no memory why I even killed this guy. He's a very forgettable fight, which is a shame. He's like the other dragon, but way more forgettable. I couldn't tell you a thing about this guy. I genuinely am really struggling to remember a thing about this guy other than I had to hit him for a really long time. Next, Throne Watcher and Throne Defender are cool. It's like if somebody did the Twin Dragon Rider thing, but actually decided to make it well done. Is it Ornstein and Smo cool? No. But what I like about that, they do revive each other. I remember that. And I like how it's in the final boss area. I mean, this is a cool lead up and hype moment for the final boss with Nishandra, even though technically it's Aldia. I like Throne Watcher and Throne Defender. Cool movesets. I like the fact they're just well, I don't want to say monsters. They're just kind of like humanoids, though. I don't know. I really like when you fight humanoids in Souls games, and the Throne Watcher and Throne Defender feel very fitting for the fantasy ending. So I don't know. I like them both quite a bit. I like how they both have different builds, different weapons, and they each have different strategies. So I like them. They are cool and get a pass. Nishandra, white woman bad. Okay. Nishandra is fine. I mean, her design— did they have a picture of her in her wraith form? I don't know. Nishandra's kind of cool. I like Nishandra's design a lot. Her role in the story is inconsequential. Compared to Aldia, I don't know. Well, it's very consequential, don't get me wrong, but compared to Aldia, I just don't think she doesn't seem like that much of a big player. She's not properly, like, given enough time throughout the game. I kind of think it would have meant more if she just had a larger overarching role in the game, or if they just made her fight way more out there, other than just some big monster using dark magic. It's like Manus, but lamer. I don't know. Nishandra's okay. Nishandra's cool for the ending, but it's nothing like— you'll do it and feel kind of underwhelmed. I have a weird relationship with Aldia. Aldia is like my favorite character, or one of my favorite characters from this game from a lore perspective, but he's really, really not a good fight. You just spend most of the fight just walking around waiting to hit him if you're a melee build, and I think that's lame, even though he says the mini monarchs have come and gone. I mean, he's a very bad fight, so I'm gonna get that out of the way. But as a character, Aldia is very omnipresent throughout the game. He is the presence that I feel like Nishandra should have to have made her a meaningful boss, which is why I like the fact Aldia is a boss, and I like the fact he's not just a guy with a sword or anything. He's unique, but I wish he had something other other than just you run around and wait to hit him. That's not fun, but Aldia is cool. But Aldia is fantastic. But the issue is that his fight is just awful. So make of that what you will. Alrighty, we're on to the DLC. I have done almost all of these. This fight was hell. This fight was actually hell. This fight was fucking insane. I mean, this is like what Nashandra should have been, if you want to talk about, because they are so similar. But in terms of like non-appearance, I think Nashandra's design is better. But Nashandra's moveset, I mean, Alana's a hard fight, in my opinion. I really struggled fighting Elana, I don't know. I very much struggled with the fight overall. But Ilana really brings a lot in terms of the actual challenge. And I like that. I like the fact that this felt so much more final and difficult than Nashandra. So I give Ilana a great review for a boss fight of the DLC. It's nothing as like insane or transformative as anything that was done in 3, like with Father Arundel and Sister Freed. But this is great. Ilana, Squalid Queen, great fight. This fight was hard. I remember also, I think I just had a lot of trouble with this DLC. I remember having a lot of trouble with Sin. So Sin is cool. He's not a very unique dragon, I feel like. I think part of that is just because we don't get to see him that much. Like, I think Medeer stalks you in Ring City, and Calamite was, they couldn't top Calamite. I don't think they ever have, but Sin is cool. Or Sin is an interesting dragon with an alright moveset that I struggled with. Though, I said, I think part of it might have just been my build. But I like Sin as a boss. I think he's a great way to cap off a good DLC. And the reward is cool with actually getting a crown. Because this was the first crown I got, was the one from Sin. Really just epic final showdown. I actually beat this fight by myself. Even though you're supposed to do this with 3 people. I believe I cheesed it. I think the AI bugged out for a couple of them, or I only was dealing with one at a time. It wasn't that bad the way I did it, but it was supposed to be much worse. This fight is toxic. I mean, it's sort of like, just for yourself, it's toxic. I mean, who's gonna say it's a good boss fight if it's just 3 players in a room who try to murk you? Alright, nobody. But, I don't know. I like it. I think it's fun. Well, I like it on paper. And I think it'd be fun if you had other people. The only reason I think it's fun now is because I didn't have trouble with it, because the fight didn't work as it should have for me. I like big player versus player stuff, or PvE and stuff. So, of course, if I had friends, if I actually had real friends to play Dark Souls 2 with, I would have happily given this a 10 out of 10 if I had 2 other people to do the fight with. But it's a nice throwback to Dark Souls 1 as well. But overall, bad fight unless you're doing it with friends. I think with friends, this would have been a real blast, though. I hate this guy. I hate this guy because it's so hard to reach him. I hated the walk to this guy. The walk to this guy is so much more difficult than the actual fucking fight. And by the time you reach him, you're gonna be fucking depleted out of resources or anything to survive anyway. So of course he'll just fucking execute you. I think this fight sucks. I hate this fight. And like 2 out of 10. The walk to it is insufferable. The guy is just not fun. He'd be totally fine. I'd be totally fine with it if it wasn't so difficult to reach him and you just didn't have to run through a literal fucking war zone to reach him. I don't like the Smelter Demon, but I think that's all just because of the setting. Fume Knight is one of my, like, most nostalgic boss fights ever. I think about Fume Knight when I think about, like, imposing figures, because this fight is insanely difficult. I had so much fucking trouble with this fight. And I think if you're trying to create a crazy fucking boss fight, I think Fume Knight's a good place to start. Because I don't even think, like, I had trouble with any Huddy as much as I did with Fume Knight. And which is crazy, because I have bosses I never beat, but I never, like, went against them as much as I did this guy. I mean, look at this whole breakdown of his boss moveset. Look at that. Look at that. Look at his second phase. I mean, it's so in-depth. Oh, wait, no. Not all of these are it. Or maybe they all are it. Okay. But point is, Fume Knight is an incredibly difficult fight, even if you get rid of all the Ashen Idols. Now, there's a cool... wow, I never knew that. If you put on Velstout's helm, he'll immediately enter phase 2. That's insane. I don't know. There's a cool bit of lore with him and his association, but I don't remember all of it. You can watch the VadiVidya video. You don't need me to link his channel. You know who VadiVidya is if you're watching this. Fume Knight is incredibly difficult, but by that same point, I think he's definitely one of the most rewarding bosses to take out, and he's definitely one of the best designed bosses in this game. Now, I've seen memes where people say Sir Alon is just the lost sinner, but with like 2 more moves. I don't know if I agree with that, but I don't know if I disagree with that either. I think he's cool. We love Eastern Knights. I like Sir Alon. I think he's a well-designed boss. I don't really have any major things to talk about with him. He's just, anybody you talk to about Dark Souls 2 is gonna either say it's a shitty like lost sinner reskin, or it's a very good unique fight. And I think Sir Alon is a solid unique fight, even though it is a little similar to other fights where you're just fighting guy with sword. Sir Alon is unique enough in their presentation and their area to where I can look past it and still enjoy it. Plus they use a katana, and katanas are universally cool. Oh, and they can parry the player. I didn't even know that. See? So yeah, there's a lot of like little nuances to Sir Alon that I think really make it stand out on any player's journey through Dark Souls 2. Coolest like fucking design ever. I love his lore. I love how selfless he is, and how the lore is that when he uses his sword with both arms or whatever, it's insanely powerful, but when in the fight he does it one-handed. It's some like Artorias level shit. The Burnt Ivory King is awesome. His fight is awesome when it works. I feel like a lot of the time you end up just losing to his fucking Legion of Hell down there with all his fucking burnt knights. Even when you bring the 4 not burnt knights, dude, I really feel like that fight just has too many fucking extras to kick off that you just have to slave your way through fighting. I don't know, but the fact I even beat it and can still like consistently talk about it and be like, wow, it was such an awesome experience, speaks for itself. Burnt Ivory King is also one of my favorite DLC bosses, which is crazy, because to me, Sunken Crown has like the weakest DLC bosses, but yet I still like them in there. Fume Knight and Sir Alon and such, they're cool. I really like them, and Burnt Ivory King is really the standout of his DLC. The other bosses are pretty, I think it's just the wolves, so I'm not really digging it with them, but Burnt Ivory King, great send-off. Now, I'm kind of gonna loop these two together, so Ava, Invisible Dog. You wait till the dog is revealed, and then this is just 2 of the dogs. I never actually had the patience to beat this guy. Yeah, they both have less health than the one on the bridge, but their damage is the same. But Frigid Outskirts, dude. I hate this area. This is unironically one of my least favorite areas in the game. I had a whole rant where I talked about how much I hated these fucking guys because they kept spawning over and over and over as I tried to reach the fucking boss. These frozen reindeer are just the worst parts of Dark Souls 2. This whole area is fucking evil. I can't fucking stand this place, like, at all. I fucking hate this part. And it's just for a reskin where it's just 2 of the same boss you fought before. It's 2 of the same boss you fought before, literally 1 for 1. Like, what a fucking insult, dude. I am filled with hate for this, but I know one day I also have to go back and actually finish the full fucking game and make them suffer for what they did, you know? So, I don't know. I'm in this weird spot where I know I have to go back to Dark Souls 2 to seal up my past, but by the same point, God, I hate that. But it's weird, because I still feel like some level, I wouldn't be that fired up about it if I didn't like the game as much. And even though some of these people are all forgettable, they're all unique enough characters to where I feel like I had something to say about them, or I have some memories associated with them and my experience fighting them, which to me is awesome. That was an awful lot of Dark Souls 2 content. Well, it's still good. I'm not gonna give up and be like, even though I read through most of them and there were plenty of which I was just like not a fan. The fact I feel that strongly and can still look through and recognize most of them, because I'm not gonna say I remembered all of them. The fact I can remember most of them and still have a positive experience overall, because we didn't even talk about the individual enemies, which there's numerous of, and also not numerous of, because there's a ton of reuse stuff in the game. I still think it kind of brings more like focus to the parts of it that are special, and the fact so many of these characters are recognizable, not just to me but to plenty. I know for a fact fact, I've watched a ton of ranking every Dark Souls 2 boss just to see what people think. So it feels kind of weird to just kind of release my own thoughts on just all of them, even if they're not really rankings. It's just me reminiscing on Dark Souls 2. And that's all I got for you. So stay safe, gamers. Hope your holidays or whatever. I have no idea when this will even be out, but I will see you in Majula eventually. Yeah.